Welcome back to our Founders Mental Health podcast. I'm Paula Petcu, your host, and I'm joined today by Thomas. Hello, Thomas.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
So happy to have you here. Been trying to have this conversation for a while, but startup life.
Startup life gets in the way. I totally get it.
But here we are finally, and I'm so excited to hear about you and what you're doing because it's very much related to mental health. So,
Yes,
yeah, it's going to be very meta. We're going to talk about your business, but also
sure.
about your own mental health.
Exactly. Yeah. Good. Good. Well, how about I just start with just introducing myself and letting people know, who I am and where I come from and why I'm here.
Perfect.
So I'm from California, and I originally got into mental health because of my own challenges with suicide and depression as a teenager, and I got a lot of help, which was just really influential. I learned all about the power of the mind, that you have the ability to influence yourself, that you can actually train yourself to get out of negative thoughts or cognitive behaviors and things like that. And so I thought, I'm gonna be a psychologist. And when I went to college, I got a bachelor in psychology, and thought I would go that way. But then when I went to Denmark, and I went to Denmark because I am half Danish. My mom is Danish, so that's why I went all the way from California here. I got into neurotech, which I thought was a whole lot more exciting than talking to depressed and suicidal teenagers all day long. And so I did both my master's and PhD in cognitive neuroscience at the University of Copenhagen. I was a teacher there for a little bit, and then I worked for three other Danish neurotech companies, all doing various different things. But none of them were really doing anything with mental health, and that was my original interest in the beginning. The partner of mine at the previous company and I decided to build a company that uses neurotech and also focuses on mental health. And that is now, it was at the time called Neurora, but now we're growing a bit, and we've changed names to Herd. And the reason for that is Herd, HIRD, in old Norse, is kind of, it means kind of like a protector or someone taking care of you.
Ah,
And so that's what we
nice.
wanted to get across, is that we are here to take care of you and protect you from the negativity of your own mind, which unfortunately we are all very familiar with, regardless of who you are, and where you're from, and what your experiences are. We all know what it's like to have terrible thoughts that keep us up at night and wake us up early in the morning, distract us from work, get in the way of having healthy relationships, and most importantly, get in the way of having a wonderful relationship with ourselves.
Absolutely. Wow, what a journey.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's been crazy. I didn't expect to get here, but I'm delighted that I did.
Yeah, yeah. And how
Yeah.
you started with a certain education and then you are now an entrepreneur. How is that?
Yes. Well, it was not something that I planned or even wanted to do. I loved science. I loved neuroscience, and that's all I wanted to do was, especially when I got into university, when I was doing my PhD, I thought this is where I'm going to be. And
Mhm.
then I became a teacher after I was hired to be a teacher. But then funding ran out for my position, so I thought, okay, well now I have to do something else. But I love neuroscience and neurotech, because I think neurotech is the future. I was very inspired by the Matrix, and I thought I want to build the Matrix. I was like, well, I gotta find a company that is doing this or working with neurotech somehow. And so I found a company called Plato Science, and they use a type of neurotech that it actually stimulates your mind to induce focus thoughts or focus cognitive activity. I guess you could kind of say it's like drinking a coffee without a coffee. You put this headset on and it sends signals into, which I guess sounds a bit aggressive or violent, but it's not. It's not,
It's not.
painful
I
or
tried
whatever.
it once,
You have
because
tried Plato
yeah, yeah,
Science.
yeah,
Okay.
we were
Yeah.
evaluating for using the technology for a study, so I tried it on myself first.
Oh, cool. What
So
was your experience with that?
I think it
Like,
was
did you
for just a short while, but
okay,
it
okay.
felt a bit scary in the beginning, but,
Yes. Yeah.
also very easy to use,
Yeah.
and, the guidance was good on what to do. I
Yeah.
didn't, so it didn't hurt me. I
Yeah.
guess that's
Right. Yeah,
one
yeah.
of
Good.
the checkpoints,
Yes.
but I haven't used it for something specific, a specific goal, so I don't know
Sure.
about the
Yeah, yeah.
efficacy.
Sure, sure. Well, I mean, there is science behind it. People are also using this type of technology to work with, depression, and there's
Yeah.
probably all sorts of other applications. I'm not It's not really my space, that, the stimulation type of
Mhm.
neurotech. But anyway, back to your question about how to became an entrepreneur. I went from that company, and then I was just intern there, and they didn't have really funding. So then I found another neurotech company called Neurons that does market research.
Mhm.
So instead of asking someone on a scale of 1 to 10, what do you think about this advertisement? Or here's a product. Can you interact with this product? And what do you think? Instead of asking people, they're actually just reading your mind to seeing how engaged you are and how focused you are, and if you're stressed or if it's confusing, things like that. And then I got an opportunity to work for another company that was doing even more things. And it was actually a bit too many things. We were doing, it was a company called Mew that had a daughter company called CurveX. And they were doing things like cognitive controlled games and robots that you can move around and things with ADHD and meditation. It was a lot of things, and it didn't really work out, but I learned enough about how to build a business and how to get networks, because I was very much responsible for building the CurveX part, this daughter company. And so that's where I kind of got the experience of how to run something. And then when that company ended up going bankrupt for other reasons, and then my partners are like, well, let's just build again, but let's just focus on something that we're really passionate about. And since we were so influential in building something, we thought, well, we do have the skills now to do this. It wasn't something I would have ever thought about doing. And even in the beginning, I was like, no, I don't, because they asked me to be the CEO at the time, and I was like, no, no, this is not me. I like being an analyst, or like a little manager, or just play like, I just want to play around with this stuff. I don't want to like do financial sheets and like talk to investors and all that.
Yeah.
But somehow they convinced me to do it, and so we got a little team together. And fortunately, since then, I found someone else to be the CEO who's a business person
Mhm.
with a background from CBS, and I've changed to being the operations officer, which is much more me, to figure out, well, how can we use this for really interesting ways, and how can we help people, and how can we do projects? Way more me. So it was great that um, I was kind of convinced to start this, because if I hadn't done that, Herd never would have existed. But I'm also glad that I could step down from CEO, which is not me, and do more operations.
Yeah, amazing. But it
Yeah.
also requires awareness into what you're good at, what you can do,
Yes.
but still
Yes.
add a pinch of challenging yourself, otherwise you don't grow.
Absolutely, and I still am learning a lot about business, of course, and working on projects and negotiating deals, and things like that. But I'm also doing more fun things, and more human things that don't have to do with spreadsheets or numbers or
Yeah,
talking to investors, or things like that. It's much more human and personal and mental health related, because I can talk to people about, okay, well, how is your mental health situation? And since I'm quite comfortable talking about my story, that gives people the permission to open up about themselves as well. So I have these wonderful experiences where people say that they can talk about things that they normally don't even talk about or have never spoken about. And that's in first meetings with complete strangers. So
yeah,
it's a really lovely situation to be in, to create these connections with people, and then say, okay, well, let's figure out how we can help you. And whether it's not through the business, then I also do mental health stuff, on the side, just for free, to help people. And maybe that's something that we could do. And so it's getting back to what I really wanted into the beginning of actually just helping people with themselves, because I totally get what it's like to need that help and
yeah.
not know what to do.
Amazing. And yeah, that self awareness and alignment with passion is so, so important to keep you going and
Yeah,
enjoy
yeah.
your work.
Yes, it really is, because I mean, this job is just so hard, and the uncertainty of whether this is gonna work out is just incredible. It's unlike anything I've ever experienced, where you put your whole life into something, and there's no guarantee that this will work out at all.
Yeah,
There's no guarantee that all your hard work will pay off. And so that uncertainty, and I hear it's very cliche when you hear entrepreneurs saying there's a lot of ups and downs. Yeah, there is, but not at all like what I thought. I mean, it's so intense. I mean, that those up and downs, that could be several in a single day, and it just knocks you out. It really just takes, all your energy to just be like, okay, let's just keep going. Let's just do this. And so it's really important to, when something good happens, just really try to embrace the fact that something did happen, a little win happened,
Yes.
because I get in the trap of not doing that, and whenever anything positive happens, thinking, "Well, how much further do I have to go?" Which we all do with essentially everything. We do it with our careers and our personal developments and our relationships and financial, all sorts of things. So it's really important to not get in the trap of thinking, "Well, I need to be even further," because
Mhm.
you're never gonna actually get there. You're
Mhm.
always gonna see more. Unfortunately, that's how the mind loves to mess with you in this regard. So whenever anything happens, I really have to put a lot of effort into being like, "Thank you," and, appreciative, and this is wonderful, and I'm delighted to have just made it this far, you know?
Amazing. Yeah. And how do you bring this to your team as well?
Yes, we talk about this, openly because we're also very open about mental health. People in my team have also gone down with, because we focus on stress now.
Mhm.
So what our main priority is helping with stress at the office, and some of us have definitely gone down with stress and had to go on sick leave and stuff like that. So we're also very open about that. One people on our team was doing a consultancy position, and it was just got burnt out and realized this is not for me, and he wants to get into mental health so he can help people with stress.
Yeah.
So he's open about his story, and he understands, just like we all do, the importance of being together as a team when we can, and just be like, okay, look, this is so cool that we've made it this far, and things are going really well, and we're all so different, and we contribute our various skill sets to something that's just a greater good. And so we put a lot of effort in being like, hey, let's just take a moment to appreciate this, rather than being like, okay, well, what are the next 10 steps, which it's so easy to do.
Yes. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Especially when you get that energy of like, "Wow, we did it. What does it mean?" Like, no,
Yes.
just appreciate it. Like we got
Yes.
so far.
Yes. Let's just go out for a beer, even if it's not a big deal. Also, just be like, hey, let's just be together as a team and go out for a beer, go for a walk, or hang out, or do
Yeah.
something. Sometimes we go to a summer house, so we can go there and just be together away from everything, which
Mm.
is also really nice.
Yeah, amazing. So
Yeah.
you talk about this in your team. You're working on preventing stress in a
Yes.
company. So what tips would you have for other companies and especially um, small companies on taking care of their own mental well-being and avoiding stress?
Yes, well, one thing that's really important is that just the awareness of mental health and the importance of mental health, because if you can't be aware of something, it's likely that you're not going to be able to change it. And so a lot of people don't even know that they are stressed or know that they are dealing with mental health challenges. They might feel fatigued, or they might be irritable, or might be
Mm.
argumentative with people, or just might be upset, or sad or whatever, and not really realize, well, what is going on. So I think the most important thing for many people is to first start being aware of your situation, your mental health, and then try to reflect on why that's happening. Because the more you think about your own mental health, the more you think about your cognitive activity, the more you can begin to realize what's happening, what is influencing those things, and then how to change. Because, for example, if maybe you have to do an assignment, and then you find yourself to be irritable, and you're not really sure why, and you start to realize, and so you mark down, okay, every Thursday at 2 o'clock, I'm very irritable, and I don't really know why. But as soon as if you're aware of this, and you be like, okay, well, I do this assignment or this task at 1 o'clock right before.
Mhm.
Okay, this activity or meeting with this thing or person has an actual effect on my, mental health, and maybe I need to either have a different attitude toward that, about that assignment, or delegate it differently, or just change something about my either my physical behavior or my perception about that behavior, because it's influencing me. And there could be a lot of things that are influencing you, but the most important thing is be aware of yourself, so that you can see, well, what is happening, and then make the change.
Yeah, and I think it's difficult though for someone that is running all the time as a founder to like think of taking time away to reflect
Yes,
and being so selfish in looking at your own
absolutely.
mental health.
It is, and then I get that a lot too. People say, "Well, I don't have time for meditation, or I don't have time for this." And there's a fantastic solution to that, and that is, you don't actually have to do mental health exercises as like, "I'm going to do this," like, set off time to do mental health exercises. You can do it while you're brushing your teeth, you can do it while you're walking around, you can do it while you're on the phone, you can do it while you're doing work. The more often you are aware of your mental activity, the more that habit happens, and then you'll find yourself doing, a spreadsheet or going through your LinkedIn or whatever, and then like, okay, how am I feeling now? And then when you are aware of your thoughts, that actually creates some distance between you and your thoughts. So you can say, okay, I'm aware of the fact that I instead of because what happens is people say I am angry, for example, and then they'll identify with angry and say that that is who I am. But the more you're aware of anger or sadness, you can say, I am aware that I am experiencing anger or sadness. And that just, I know that sounds like a silly semantic thing that doesn't really change anything. But what it does is it creates space between you and these negative feelings, which give you more time to breathe, more time to reflect on it. You don't have such tunnel vision in the thing that's making you mad or the madness itself. You'd be like, okay, well, okay, I see that sadness or anger. It's happening in my field of awareness. I can see that it's there, but I don't have to give so much power to it once you separate yourself and distance yourself from it. Uh, because otherwise, we kind of like we look at it and it's like, oh, it's so powerful,
Yeah.
and it just drives us mad. But being aware of it gives you a chance to breathe, let go, and then you'd be like, okay, well then I'm actually just mad at just something silly, which doesn't matter. And then it could just be that easy. Sometimes it's very small things that are totally defeating us.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not the length of the marathon that necessarily defeats you. Sometimes it's the pebble in your shoe that is what defeats you. So these little tricks help you deal with stress or just your personal challenges, issues,
Yeah.
difficulties in life.
Yeah, amazing. And I love it, the power of also putting different words on it. Like your
Yes.
example on I am angry versus I'm feeling this anger. Uh,
Yes, exactly.
because, and I think you could also think about it as a founder needing to raise money, needing to present your solution. You're telling a lot of stories.
Mhm.
Storytelling is one of the most important tricks that you have in the bag as a
Mhm. Yeah,
as a
exactly.
founder,
Yeah,
and it works.
yeah.
So it's like, I would think now it's like reverse storytelling with what are you telling to yourself as well, and
Yes,
try to
exactly.
reflect, work on that.
Yes, that's totally true. Because we are very unreliable narrators when it comes to our own situation. We are so comfortable insulting ourselves and telling
Yeah,
ourselves, "Oh, you're an idiot. You can't do anything. Nobody likes you. You're ugly. You're worthless. What are you even doing trying to do this? It's never gonna work."
yeah,
We're so awful to ourselves. Our evaluation of the situation is also completely off.
yeah,
It's good to just be like, okay, stop this. This is just ridiculous. And then you can call yourself out, and just be like, no, I'm not going to listen to you. Your mind, and just I'm just going to focus on peace or whatever I have to do.
yes, amazing. And let's go also into the tech that you provide. Can
Okay.
you explain a bit more about what you're doing at Herd?
Sure. So when your neurons communicate, they use electricity, and there's electricity flying around all over your body. And most people are familiar with this sort of thing, like in you see in the hospital with the heart beeping machine that goes toot 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 toot. So those beeps and those up and down things that you see in maybe in the movies, hopefully not in real life, but maybe real life, but in the at least in the movies or whatever, those beeps and those up and down things, those mean things, and that's the electricity going down to your heart to pump it. But so it's the same type of technology that we use in the brain, and that's called EEG. With the heart, it's called ECG or EKG. In the muscles, because electricity, of course, flying down through your muscles, it's EMG. In the eyes, it's EOG. But we're doing EEG, which is in the head. And essentially, different parts of their brain are responsible for different functions. And we're measuring activity that is related to more executive level, or I guess emotional or response based activity to your mind. And what I mean by emotional response based is, your physical sensation, vision, those would be more sensually a sensation, where other things that go after that are your interpretation of the sensations. So we measure these things, and we're measuring the prefrontal cortex, which is the front of the head, and we measure things like how focused are you, how much mental effort are you using to solve a task. So, for example, 1 plus 1 would not be too difficult, but if I told you to do 17 times 35, and you actually try to do, okay, what's 17th, in your head, there's an indicator that goes up immediately. It says, okay, this is obviously requiring more work. And we also measure stress, so we can see, how challenging is, or like almost in a burdensome way, is someone feeling. um, and so we can show people these insights, and we used to use a headband that went around your head, like a band. That's why it's called headband. But it was very hard to convince people to wear that, especially at the office, which I understand because people don't want anything on their face. So now we are using ear pods, and what's fantastic about that is, they look just like regular ear pods. And what happening is that the electricity that we were measuring from the prefrontal cortex, it's actually running down your scalp, and we can detect it through the ear. And what this does is it gives us also the opportunity to let people use our technology and measure their brain while at the office, and no one has any idea because they just look like regular ear pods. And people are running around wearing ear pods publicly all day anyway. So it's a very exciting time to do this because the barrier for wearing these is basically non-existent, and the technology is now cheap enough that we could do this on a commercial level. So we're giving people the opportunity to measure themselves so they can see what's going on, and then we give them insights into how they can deal with, improving productivity or decreasing stress. So we can say, okay, look, you've been focusing for too long. Maybe it's time to take a break. Or in the morning, we say, now your focus level is perfect. Maybe now you should do something that's more demanding. Whereas at the later of the day, we can say, okay, your focus level is and your cognitive effort level it's declining. So just maybe do check some emails or something that's a little bit more, not as challenging.
Hmm.
And then of course with stress, we can say, okay, well maybe you should take like a do a little breathing exercise. You don't have to get up or go away. Just take a moment to just remember that whatever you're focusing on that is causing this stress is not the entire world. You can overcome this. You've overcome things like this a million times, and there's no reason that this is any different. And various we have a whole bunch of notifications. We've got like a list of 100 different things that will pop up depending on someone's cognitive state,
Hmm.
where they can do something to either help their focus or relax or help them with their stress, and various other things.
Nice. And can employees themselves buy this as an individual, or is it through a company that decides that their employees should have it?
Right now, we do it through a company. So we do these corporate athlete programs where a manager or a C-level person would say, "Okay, listen, I understand that mental health is an important topic, and I want my employees to have the best mental health that they possibly can be. So we'll enroll in this program, and then we'll deliver 20 headsets to people in different departments, and then they'll all measure themselves, and they'll be able to see their information live in real time. But then what happens is we put all this information together anonymously for the manager to see, well, how are things going? And they give insights into, well, maybe the workload is too much over here, or this department, it doesn't seem stimulated enough. You could actually challenge them more, or the teamwork over here, the communication, or whatever. Or sometimes there's an issue with someone at home, which of course has nothing to do with the workplace, and of course it would be all anonymized, so we wouldn't be able to say that this person is feeling challenged. But we could give insights that could help a manager create a better working environment for their employees.
Yeah.
And we act kind of as the middleman for that tough conversation, because a lot of people, of course, don't want to tell their manager, "This is how I'm feeling," or "I'm stressed," or "Oh, I'm my confidence is lacking," or whatever. So we will take care of that, so that employees are doing their best, and managers can also be the best leaders that they can be and the most
Hmm.
helpful.
Hmm. And one of the topics for this podcast is also whether you walk the talk. So my question is, do you use this technology yourself in your
Yeah,
company?
yeah, we all do, because we also wanna be super users in this, and we wanna know every little detail that you possibly can be about how it's working, and the insights that you're getting, and if it's useful. So we all wear this, and and
Hmm.
and and make sure that, we're leading by example to show that we're interested in knowing our own mental health, because we believe in the ability that you can improve yourself, or with productivity, or decrease stress, with mental health tools and exercises.
Excellent.
It's exciting. It's very exciting. I feel very fortunate to be in the situation that I'm in, because as I said at the beginning, I was interested in the Matrix, which influenced me back when I was 20, and now here I am with Neurotech, in
Yes.
my ear, just in my that I've got with my briefcase. So it's just super cool. It's an incredible journey.
Yeah, amazing. And your journey brought you to Denmark, right? From
Yes, yeah,
California. So, uh,
from California. Yeah.
yeah, what are
Uh,
your thoughts on like working on this in Denmark versus California?
well, that's it's a blessing that I'm here in Denmark because I don't think it would have worked in the States. There's a lot more interest in mental health here in Denmark. First of all, I think the fact that there's a welfare system that's so dominant here that creates an open conversation about taking care of each other and
Mm,
being helpful. And then because Denmark is a very innovative country, there's a lot more interest in solutions. We got a really big grant for we've got a grant for innovation specifically for mental health. So there's a lot of money going around for mental health specifically. Where in the States, there's not so much. Well, there's definitely not this welfare system. There's not so much interest in helping each other. It's more capitalistic and just fight for yourself and kind of screw other people over. I don't want to speak badly about California, but the ability for this sort of thing, I don't think it would is there. And I know that my interest when I was in California, when I lived there, my personal interests were much more success audiences driven. I would not have pursued a PhD in the States. I would have gone somewhere more like more glamorous. Where here in Denmark, because the the values aren't necessarily focused on money and more focused on well-being and
yeah,
doing something that you love. That gave me also permission to focus on what I love rather than focusing on a job just for money
yeah, yeah.
and possessions.
Yeah, amazing and wonderful to get a good example of what Denmark can provide in this
Yes, yes,
environment.
it's a wonderful place to support you, and I feel like there's so many opportunities to receive help physically, mentally, financially, all sorts of things. It's a great place to take the risk of doing what you love because if you do fail, everything's gonna be okay. But where I'm from in San Francisco, if you fail, you can easily end up on the street. There's homeless people just all over. There's just dead bodies just on the street. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
So people don't take that risk because the failure is has huge consequences. We're here, failure is you'll be fine here. So if you're listening to this and you live in Denmark, definitely take the risk of following your passions and doing what you love because now's the time, and there's no other greater joy in life than being able to be passionate about something and pursue that and then be successful. So I really recommend you do if you can.
I love it. Anything else you'd like to share with our audience?
So I have a platform where I also make videos and do make mental health posts to talk to people. There's this platform called The Mighty, which is specifically for mental health, but it's usually a lot more serious things like depression and suicide, or my husband has cancer, and what do I deal with this, or I have cancer, or someone just died in the family, and it's like very serious stuff. Anyway, I do a lot of work on there. I've got 100,000 followers on there where I help a lot of people with various things. It's all for free. And it's a joy to be on there and help people and see people trust me with their very personal stories. It works a lot like Facebook, where you have a group and you'll
Mhm.
post things. So people will post things publicly about very serious and sensitive things. So if you're looking for a platform to be able to talk to people about something, it's called The Mighty, and it's totally free. I really recommend it because it does wonders for people's mental health. You may also definitely contact me for some opportunities where we can help you with stress, focus, productivity, just talking about mental health, being a better leader, being a better self. I'd be delighted to speak with you about those opportunities.
Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your story.
Thank you for
And
inviting me.
yeah, it's been really good and reflecting again on what
Thank
we
you.
tell ourselves, how to
Yeah,
live a better life, and what we can do better for everything.
wonderful. Well,
Yeah,
great. Thank you.
very inspiring. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, hey, thanks for listening to this podcast. If you enjoyed it, I have a favor to ask. Share it with someone you know that you think might benefit from listening to it as well. Thanks. And don't forget to walk the talk.